Hi everyone, thanks for joining me for this discussion about resourcing tomorrow. My name is Bayliss and I work for EIT InnoEnergy. We're a public-private enterprise, partly funded by the EU, also by European industry. And we focus on two things. First is running the European Battery Alliance, the EBA, and that is a membership organisation that looks to shape the European battery industry for growth of the energy transition, and that's focused through the value chain, so everything from raw materials through to finished cells and packs for various uses. And our mission is to grow the industry to support the energy transition in Europe through jobs, education, but also industry and alliances between countries and companies, and helping to get this juggernaut moving as it has done quite successfully over the last 5 years. And InnoEnergy in itself is a venture capitalist entity that invests and supports early stage startups. Again, in terms of the battery value chain, we're active across the whole spectrum from upstream to downstream, but also we also look at other thematics like solar, green hydrogen, wind and e-mobility. So we also have a lot of activity in other sectors, but a lot of connection between these within Europe. And we're currently supporting a number of companies in Europe with projects at various steps of the value chain to get them up and running and active in helping the energy transition in Europe as we sort of try to meet future goals. So this sort of leverages into what we'll be discussing on the panel at Resourcing Tomorrow around the EU Battery Directive and the opportunity this will create for the mining industry in Europe. For those of you who are not so familiar, the EU Battery Directive is a new regulation that is due to be signed into law by the end of June, I believe. And it effectively is designed to provide regulation for the production, use and recycling of advanced batteries in Europe across all different industries, from goods to electric vehicles to energy storage. The opportunity, I think, here for the European industry and the mining industry is that, of course, the EU places high standards on its industry and its economy, and the Battery Directive aims to ensure that the playing field is fit for consumers. So that means that consumers can be sure that the batteries that they are buying and using within the EU come from sources that are, for the sake of the mining industry, transparent and aligned with requirements of the industry in Europe, and particularly aligned to other initiatives with regards to sourcing and raw material supply from countries that will be in the EU or partners to the EU through different initiatives. And this will enable the supply of batteries through to consumers in Europe to be fully transparent, and hopefully, as we go on, low carbon intensity. The current shape of the European battery value chain, in terms of its structure, is shaping up well to meet such end-use requirements that predominantly enable this energy transition that we're in. Of course, it clear that the upstream is weaker than the downstream in terms of activity, because naturally you can put a gigafactory almost anywhere, but raw materials are geographically constrained and nuanced. So of course it relies more on natural abundance than it does on availability of land at the surface for building such facilities. So we have this current mismatch between raw material supply and downstream demand in terms of units of consumption, and this will be something that will be improved by development of European assets, of which there are several under development that have thankfully passed a few milestones this year in terms of environmental and permitting hurdles. So we see progress on domestic projects, and these will be coming through to financing and hopefully development over the next couple of years, meaning that more domestic supply should appear in the later part of the 2020s. We also have a lot of recycling activity underway in Europe, through startups, through partnerships with existing companies, and that will also provide additional material to the value chain time, aligned to, as previously mentioned, the EU Battery Directive, which has got stated aims for recycled content of cells produced and supplied to European customers. I guess the sort of bigger sort of picture to answer the sort of full value chain security of supply is coming through partnerships with more resource-rich countries where projects are more abundant or more advanced or quicker to come into production. So we see initiatives such as the mineral supply partnership between the EU, various states, the US, the UK, countries like Australia and Canada, with resource-rich nations. That will help to crystallize projects through access to funding, for example, to link to users of such products in Europe. And then we also have sort of state-level initiatives that are ongoing that are looking at opportunities, and the EU's own critical raw material partnerships, which currently involve countries like Kazakhstan, plans for Greenland, Canada, certain countries in Africa like the DRC and Zambia, and recently put in motion for Argentina and Chile. So expect to see that European battery value chain will have a sort of large proportion of material supply coming from some of these partnership-led initiatives that are currently being built. What I'm looking forward to about Resourcing Tomorrow is a great platform to meet some of these projects that are under evaluation and development in various places around the world. It brings together a nice selection of companies that we can try and help bring to the attention of European customers, and also potential financing opportunities, and discovering what sort of new and what's exciting and sort of fits the requirements of the battery value chain as we try to improve the sort of development of that in Europe, alongside overall policy and regulation goals as we've discussed. Thank you.